Welcome to the SportsBros Podcast, featuring the almighty B-Live, the money man Scotty D, and your host, the head of creative Eddie Cool. The SportsBros Podcast, by the fan, for the fan, talking sports just the way you like it. And without any further ado, let's give it up for the SportsBros. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. It's time once again for your favorite sports podcast, none other than the SportsBros Podcast. I finally put two and two together, fellas. I said, you know what? If I just move this mic closer, get a bigger stand for my computer, that way I won't have to sound like I'm screaming. And that's always a good thing. Always a good thing. This episode is action-packed and fully loaded. We're going to be talking about some of the biggest stories in 2023 in the world of sports, and also what happened with the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers. But before we get into that, let me introduce two of the best coaches in the world, because I cannot do it by myself. Because somebody said, Ed, have you ever thought about doing a solo podcast? I said, yep, and nope, I don't like it because it's not as fun. Introducing first, the almighty B-Live.
I say this with great pleasure. What's happening? What's going on in the world today? This is going to be one of my favorite episodes already, just because it's all about me and a phrase that I coined. What happened? And a lot. The answer is a lot. And it's about the NFL. The NFL is crazy right now. Wow. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. When I tell you it's crazy, when like there's 3 weeks to go and there's still 13 teams in each conference that can make the playoffs. Yeah, it's crazy. But speaking of craziness, let's go ahead and bring in the other guy. You know, it looks like he's festive in his Christmas attire for those, unfortunately, that can't see him. Oh, Lord. That's just an ugly T-shirt. It ain't an ugly sweater. It's just an ugly T-shirt.
In general, he says.
Yeah. I'll bring him in one more time.
I really thought about getting a Christmas hat this year, but I got too much head for all that. I'm taking a dig at me. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's
never lie.
That's my own dig there. And he is, shut up, B-Live. And he is the other guy, the pride of Washington, Pennsylvania, Scotty Cum Laude. We got to get that trademark, Scotty D. We got to get that trademark. He is the money man, Waynesburg University's rising star. Cool it, youngster. And look here, bow tie, the money man, Scotty D.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go.
Fayetteville.
And it is really looking like that right now, because the white stuff's on the ground here, Eddie Cool.
Yeah, it's here too, because as I was sitting in my living room, I heard somebody go WTF, and I looked outside and I closed the blinds and I cried just a little.
Yep. And I'm gonna sneak in real quick. Scott, Ed, have y'all seen what's been going on in my neck of the woods?
And yeah, a little nor'easter came up through there over the weekend, huh?
Oh, was that tropical storm force winds and flooding all through North Myrtle and Cherry Grove? And yeah, we had a lot of rainfall. We don't get the white stuff here. We just get nastiness. And then the next day it's 65 degrees. So it's cool. Whatever you want to do, Carolinas, understand it's the Lord above and everything, but the weather's just different here. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I saw that because my sister's like, yeah, I'm having a hard time, because she works in the Cherry Grove area. She's like, yeah, I'm having a hard time getting home from work. And I'm like, why? And I looked and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got snow up here. Y'all got a junior tropical depression / hurricane down there. And somebody said on Facebook, I know a tropical storm when I see it. But, you know, in the words of the almighty B-Live, I digress. Let's quit wasting time gagging, ladder-gagging, and BS, and let's go ahead and hop right into it. The top of the order. All right, let's get this thing started. Here it is, the top of the order. Now, as we mentioned earlier, that's called a teaser for those of you that don't know the industry's term for it. We talked about what happened in the NFL this weekend. Number one, it's that time of the year where we get a lot of Saturday games and Sunday games. And I will say the games have been pretty intriguing, pretty exciting. But there's two particular games that stood out. The first one, let's talk about the Colts and the Steelers. The Steelers had a chance to gain some ground in the AFC wild card, but they didn't. They fell flat. Mike Tomlin might be on his way out. Fellas, what happened between the Colts and the Steelers?
Also, you wanted me to look into that game out of all games? What happened is that the Steelers don't have a quarterback. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Trubisky ain't the answer. Kenny Pickett's hurt. Now they're going to try Mason Rudolph. So let's just throw more stuff at the wall and see if anything sticks. Mike Tomlin is scrambling, and he's thing about it is that he's done so well for so long. It's disappointing to see, even at 7-7, that fans are calling for his head. Like, if this might be the first time that they have a losing record in how long? And y'all ready to cancel this dude like that? Nah, man. I'm not here for that. Because I guess if you want to cancel, I don't even know how it works with the Steelers organization. Who's the GM? I think the GM's at fault. I feel like the talent, there is talent on that team, especially on the defensive side, but the continuity on the offensive side of the ball is subpar at best. So maybe that's why the fans are a little bit upset. Maybe they haven't gotten over Ben Roethlisberger, but the Colts they keep finding a way to win. And if you're going to have a backup quarterback, which half the league is now on the backup quarterback, but y'all don't want to pay running backs. I'm sorry, my bad. That was my point last week. Gardner Minshew, he will find a way to win. If I were to have a backup quarterback, Gardner Minshew would be one of them dudes that I would like to start for my team. So there it is. I mean, that's what happened.
Well, what happened is that the Steelers have become an absolute mess. It's beyond I think repair at this point for the Tomlin situation. And all the times I've been following the Steelers and actually now been living in this area for the past 4 years, I don't think I've ever seen it where we actually were this close, where it seemed like a reality that this is probably going to be the end of the line for Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. The fans are ready for a change. You hear the local radio talking heads talking heads would be TV. Those guys, the media, we'll just say the media in general is ready for a change, and it could be time that actually the Rooney's ready for a change. And it doesn't seem in general like a angry hatred towards Mike Tomlin as much as people just feel like his shelf life has hit the expiration date. There was a list on the radio the other day on our local station, the Fan, where they were talking about coaches who have won playoff games since the last time Mike Tomlin has won a playoff game. And there was guys' names on there like Chuck Pagano and Mike Mularkey, who haven't even been head coaches now in multiple years. I think it's 2016 or 17 that since Tomlin has won his last game. There's a meme going around on social media saying that in Mike Tomlin's 17 years, he made the playoffs 4 years. Now, obviously, early he won a couple during one of those years and won a Super Bowl and went to another. But it may be actually time. If you look at the team, excuse me, obviously the Kenny Pickett got hurt and they were struggling very badly at quarterback, but they were struggling when Pickett was in there to score. They won some games, but they were doing so mostly with defense. And now the defense is leaking oil. They have injuries in the linebacker position. The wide receivers are weekly being shown how they're just basically quitting when I'm talking about Pickens and Deontay Johnson. It seems to me, even the look on Tomlin's face at these post-game press conferences now, it seems like he may have lost the locker room. And I know that's kind of a industry cliche to say that, but it just doesn't seem like this is something that he's going to come back from. There's even talking of trading him. I mean, it's very rare that a coach gets traded. I think the last time might have been John Gruden. I mean, it's rare that actually happens, but it's even more rare that you hear like the trade talk rumors. I mean, you know, I don't remember ever when that Gruden thing happened, people like, man, I think Gruden's a trade candidate. Well, they're actually talking about that with Mike Tomlin. And I think it's because he has 1 year left on his deal. They need an offensive coordinator. They're in a position where they probably don't want to extend him. But how do you hire a coordinator or sign free agents if you have like a coach that's not promised to be there beyond the next year in a sort of a lame duck situation? It's kind of sad in that, you know, I'm not a Steeler fan, but the fact that, you know, Tomlin's had all this goodwill with this city for so long, but gradually through the years, more and more people have wanted to see them move on from him. And this time it just seems like it's kind of an out of control situation where it's going to lead to that ultimately. And guys, you know that the Steelers don't like to make coaching changes. I mean, I've seen 3 in my lifetime, 3 Steeler head coaches, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. I think the Browns might have had that last year. I mean, it's just one of those things where that organization just doesn't like to make coaching changes. And Carolina has 2 this year. They've had 2 head coaches this year alone. And they're not alone. I mean, we all saw the what Brandon Staley thing coming from a mile away. So, you know, it's, but my point is, you know, that type of thing happens often in the NFL, but not to the Steelers. And it just seems like this could be the final month of the Mike Tomlin era here in Pittsburgh.
I didn't realize. I'm just looking over a couple things. Just Mike Tomlin's been there for 16 years. You know, Mike Tomlin's only 51 years old.
Young.
He was 35 when they hired him.
Wow.
And it, just a thought I want to throw out there. We're most likely going to see this year the end of the tenures of Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin, and Ron Rivera.
And Mike McCarthy. Yeah, it's 4 big ones.
He said 4 big ones.
Did not sign Mike McCarthy. What's wrong with you?
Oh, let's just see.
Well, all right.
Well, hell, they hung on to Jason Garrett for 35 years.
That's different. That was Jerry's son.
So
that's my illegitimate boy.
You're alluding to it. You're alluding to it. What happened to your beloved Dallas Cowboys?
Well, I was not surprised by this. No, actually, I'll take that back. I was surprised how easily Buffalo destroyed the Cowboys. I actually had in my weekly pool, I had Buffalo picked to win this. I told you guys last week I thought that Buffalo was going to win this game for the fact that I thought that Buffalo was in desperation mode. They needed to win this game. They had to win this game. And they were coming off a big win at Kansas City. Buffalo, at this point, I think is the best team in the AFC, the way that they are playing right now today. And a week ago, I said I thought Kansas City was still going to be the AFC representative in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm changing my mind. I think it's going to be Buffalo because I think they're going to win out and win that division, which was unthinkable a few weeks ago. I mean, a month ago, I remember we kind of had the conversation. What actually is going on with Buffalo? This team is too good to be 5-5. And then they fired Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator, and Joe Brady has come in and given that team some direction. And that direction starts with the running game. And James Cook just diced the Cowboys up on Sunday. The Cowboys had no answer for the run game. Josh Allen didn't even throw for 100 yards. Nope. And Buffalo won that game 31-10. And guys, can we finally get you can finally stop the Dak MVP talk that I said was not warranted anyway. I said this guy, Dak, is having good games against low-grade teams. Let's see what he does against a good team on the road. And he does what he always does, plays poorly. Now, it's not intelligent to put this whole loss on Dak Prescott when the defense gave up scoring drives on the opening drive of the game and the opening drive of the second half. Both times, when the defense is technically the most well-rested, they gave up points. They had penalties that killed them. They are the most penalized team in the league, the Dallas Cowboys, and that came back to haunt them against Buffalo. The opening drive, they had them held for a field goal, roughing the quarterback. Buffalo scores a touchdown. Later in the second quarter, it's most inexplicable that a guy was right there in front of the punter and couldn't block the punt. All he could do is knock the guy down. 15-yard penalty. And then there's another touchdown. So there's 11 additional points in theory from a hold to a field goal to a blocked punt and maybe scoring a touchdown right there that the Cowboys hurt themselves again with penalties. They had personal fouls in other instances. And it just looked like a typical Dallas Cowboys on the road against a good team situation. And that's what's going to happen in January when they could potentially have to go to San Francisco or even still possibly go to Philadelphia. They're not going to beat either of those teams on the road in January. And that's why my hopes have been down here all season, despite Dak Prescott MVP throwing for 1,000 yards against the Giants and against Carolina, what other scrub team that they played.
Yeah, I'm with you, Scotty D. Let's like you said, I was watching the game and I said, oh, okay, Buffalo has a running game. Now I'm like, oh, now they finally have a running game, something that they have been devoid of since, I hate to say it, since Fred Jackson left. Because
Joe Brady is committed to the run, and they're 3-1, I believe, since he took over in early November for Dorsey. And this guy might be coaching himself right on out of Buffalo because there's going to be probably 10 openings next year for head coaching positions. And when you're the hot candidate, you get those interviews. But Eddie, the Cowboys had no answer. I mean, it just was run play after run play after run play for chunk yardage. And I know that maybe this might be the first time I've mentioned this in a while, but maybe the Cowboys are missing Leighton Vander Esch terribly because he was the guy that kind of roamed the middle, and they've been going with different looks for covering that linebacker position. But it wasn't pretty, and it got a little bit forgotten. But a couple weeks ago, the Cowboys beat Seattle on a Thursday night game, and Geno Smith, who is probably not going to the Hall of Fame, diced that defense up pretty good that night. The Cowboys gave up a lot of points on that. So 2 out of 3 games now, there's been a 30 spot on the board against the Cowboys. And you don't like going into the postseason with your defense leaking oil like that.
No. I'm going to tell you what happened to the Dallas Cowboys, and they need to figure it out quick. Can y'all take your football team and your schemes and your playbook and all the things and take them on the road? Y'all great in Dallas. Y'all off the AT&T Stadium, Gerald World. Y'all are fantastic in Dallas. But what happened to the Cowboys? This game right here, losing to the Bills, is probably going to have them going on the road the first game in the playoffs.
Well, the point is, your point is well made. But consider where they were on the road. They were at Philadelphia and lost, at San Francisco, lost, at Buffalo, lost. All 3 of those teams are playoff teams. Mm-hmm. And they also did lose to Arizona early in the season. That was an anomaly. I have no idea how that even happened at this point. But the point is, when they're playing teams that are playoff teams, it doesn't matter where it's at. They're not playing well. All these, they have a big home winning streak, and it's fun whenever you beat up Washington at home on Thanksgiving and the Giants and the Jets. But I mean, when you're playing good teams, it shouldn't matter. If you're a good team, it shouldn't matter where you're playing these teams.
You're correct. It shouldn't, but the Cowboys find a way.
Yeah, and not only are they losing, but the loss to San Francisco was 42-10, and the loss to Buffalo was 31-10. And it wasn't that close.
It's the The Dallas Cowboys are 7-0 at home, 3-4 on the road. And that,
sure, yeah.
but
Now on the flip
what?
side of your point, just to counter the last point you made, the Philadelphia Eagles blew it on Monday night. They had a chance to pretty much put the Cowboys away, and by losing, I think now if the Cowboys win out, they will get that home game because of the common opponent thing. That Philly really needed that game on Monday night and coughed that one up. And so the Cowboys have a very good shot at redemption of this loss this coming week against Miami, another good team on the road. Yep. If you win that game, then you get the Lions, another good team, but that one at home, and then finish with Washington on the road, but a game that you might really need that one. I didn't think they were going to need that Washington game, but the Cowboys now are sitting in the advantage seat. So let's see if, I mean, this is a pretty big game against Miami, which I didn't anticipate it being as big as it's going to be now. But I mean, if they win that game, then they are really in control of their own destiny as far as getting that first round game at home. We'll see.
And what I'm going to do also, because we've been Cowboy heavy a little bit. Let me tell you something about the Bills and also that hot streak, because you mentioned about the Bills winning out, which is a very big possibility. The Bills have the lowly coachless Chargers.
Right.
Then they've got, which they're most likely going to be out of a coach after this year, the New England Patriots.
Right.
And then the final game of the season is at
Miami,
which is going to be everything.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, Miami, on the flip side, their last 3 games are against whichever Dallas Cowboy team decides to show up. I mean, Dallas is still Dallas. They're talented. They're gonna make some noise. Of course you can't sleep on them. But on top of that, right after that, they go against the number 1 seed in the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh.
Miami could easily lose the last 3.
They could slip out of that spot, yeah.
And that would put them out, and Buffalo would win the division at that point. And like I said, like you said, Scotty D, they're the hottest team in football right now. And if I'm any team, maybe outside of the San Francisco 49ers, I would be afraid to face Buffalo right now.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Well, you can't discount the Ravens now. Let's not discount them, because they went to Jacksonville, and even though they lost their running back for the remainder of the rest of the season, Lamar Jackson in the backfield, looking like Houdini, throwing the ball to CCU's own Isaiah Likely. Man, what? Like, I'm looking at Lamar Jackson, and I'm just like, boy, if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm happy. These last 3 defensive coordinators, I'm having a nightmare trying to figure out how am I, because let's not, Jacksonville has a vaunted defense. They're tough and they play well. But that night, just actually watching me sitting there having a Sunday night off, I ain't had to go to work. I didn't have to do nothing but just rest, relax, and chill, which I suggest you all should do, because these holidays gets nuts, wild, and crazy. I had a chance to sit there and watch the game and just marvel at Lamar Jackson. I was like, you know what? I said, this is a different Lamar Jackson from when they played the Colts, and see his progression from that game to this game. And I'm like, man, he should be in the MVP conversation. And just looking at what Lamar Jackson does and the problems that he poses on the field, like he barely got touched that entire night, was able to hit his wide receivers and make things happen with his arm as well as his feet. So I tell Lamar, the Ravens, you can't. I'm kind of looking at them like
they're 11-3 for a reason.
Yeah, they're legit.
They are legit, and man,
but I kind of feel about them like I do about the Cowboys. Let's see what they do in January, because they're always right in the mix during a regular season.
I'm gonna throw something at you real quick, because like I said, it's insane what we're looking at right now. Do you know there is a 3-way tie in the AFC South right now?
Yeah, between the Colts, between the
Colts,
Jaguars, and the
Jaguars
Texans.
all knotted up at 8-6. The Jaguars on a 3-game losing streak. They're about to make me turn into a liar because I picked. I think we all picked the Jaguars to win this division. Trevor Lawrence, get it together. Something help, man. But I wanted to allude to that is like there's 5 teams in the AFC that are 8-6 right now. The Buffalo Bills, the Cincinnati Bengals, Jaguars, Colts, and Texans. Not all 5 of them teams you can get in, just to let you know.
Which one do you think the best is right now?
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I do too. And I give a lot of credit to Cincinnati because I had them picked to go to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, and that was pretty much based on Joe Burrow being what I consider to be the 1B quarterback in the whole league. And this Browning kid might be playing himself out of town. I mean, a lot of teams need quarterbacks. If his kid keeps playing well, he's going to get some phone calls this offseason. But yeah, give that team a lot of credit, man.
Jake Browning will gladly take him in Carolina. We will gladly. I know we got Bryce Young, but damn it, we'll gladly take him in Carolina. And how about the Jake Browning story? He threw that touchdown. He took his helmet. Boom! You never should have cut me, boy. He has a mountain on his shoulder. He was in his Michael Jordan last dance bag. You know what? I took that personal, and we saw it, man. I mean, Jake Browning has been real effective. Very effective. And of course, let's see, those Chargers. Now, we shouldn't talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it because I just have to. I got to, because you guys knew as well as anybody else, I was on Brandon Staley watch. I was watching for that ass. So I come home, I see the scores like 21-0. Okay. And then I'm doing some work and it's like 35-0. It's halftime. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to lie to you. Two things happened. As I said in a group chat with some other guys, 2 things happened that night. One coach got a job because you remember Antonio Pierce and the Raiders, they scored 6 points last week, the week before?
No,
yeah.
The Raiders scored 0.
0, yeah, they lost
6-0
or 3-0.
Yes. They scored 0 points the week before. And then to turn around and to play a fairly decent and stellar defense in the Los Angeles Chargers and hang 63 on them. Everybody was having a touchdown party. And I'm sitting there looking, and that one drive where Easton Stick dropped the ball, he fumbled it. The lineman from the Raiders picked up. I was looking at the Chargers, and the Chargers was just like, he got the ball and running. There was no pursuit, no chase, or nothing. I feel bad for Bosa, Khalil Mack. I feel bad for the players. But as far as like Brandon Staley, I don't. And it's just,
he should have been fired before that, after that debacle in Jacksonville last year.
Wow.
And the thing about it is, when's the last time you've ever heard of a coach getting fired on a Friday? On a Friday, they didn't let bruh, don't even sit down in the office. No, just go ahead and pack it up. It's over for you. Friday at noon, this dude did not have a job. You can't lose that bad in front of a semi-national audience because half the people don't have Amazon Prime. I'm sick of that, by the way. Like, I didn't see one lick of it. I'm in this group chat and they're like 42-0. Wait a minute. This is the Raiders. This is Aiden O'Connell. And what is going on? Man, like I said, insanity. What happened in the NFL? I'm going to throw something else at you. In the NFC, you know there's 5 teams in the NFC that are 7-7?
And they are?
The Minnesota Vikings, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the New Orleans Saints, the Los Angeles Rams, and now the Seattle Seahawks. Somebody ain't going to make it.
What team scares you the most out of that group?
Name the group again.
I got the Minnesota Vikings, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New Orleans Saints, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Seattle Seahawks.
I'm not going to lie, none of them.
Yeah.
I think there's one in there that's pretty scary right now, to be honest with you. And that's the Rams.
I'm leaning towards the
Rams. I was leaning towards Rams because I'm thinking like out of that
if
group,
the Cowboys
stands out.
if the Cowboys end up winning the division, that's the team they have to host in the first round. That's going to have my knees knocking a little bit because that team is they're not the same team they were at the beginning of the year.
Talking about the Rams?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If the Cowboys hosting, they'd be the 2 seed because San Fran most likely be the 1 seed, and so the 2.
Right, and regardless how it shakes out, if the Cowboys
yeah.
are a 2 or 3, whatever. If the Rams, if that ends up being somehow the matchup, however, there's still a lot of action to decide that going into the last month here. That's just not the team I want to face in the first round.
And I retract that statement. Looking at the teams you named from experience, from having playoff experience, and a lot of those players are still on the team from the Super Bowl year, which is not too far removed. I would have to say the Rams. The Saints, no. Bucks, no. Seahawks, no. It would have to be the Rams. It would have to be the Rams.
The Rams, it ain't because the players that were on the team during the Super Bowl. It's the 2 players that they picked up. Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
Them 2 were, shoot. The Rams could do a little bit of damage. They're gonna shock some people.
And they've been banged up the better part of the last 2 years, and it seems like they're just kind of. I mean, Sean McVay didn't get stupid since he won the Super Bowl.
No, he didn't.
2 years ago.
Mm-mm.
I mean, everybody looked at him as a genius just 2 short years ago, and now they've been written off. And now it seems like Stafford had a completely terrible, unhealthy year last year, and this year he's not had his weapons. With Cooper Kupp's been out. Now Kupp's been back in. He's found chemistry with this Kukua. Yeah, the Kukua guy.
It's Puka. It's Puka. What's his name, Scotty D?
Kukua. But these guys are playing well. I mean, it's that's the team that I wouldn't want to see if I'm a higher seed in a playoff. If you're the Cowboys or Lions or Eagles, whoever ends up in those spots, the Rams are not going to be like your typical team in the first round where you feel like you have an advantage against.
Yeah, right now, let's ask Greg Olson about Puka Nacua. Greg Olson, how do you feel about Puka Nacua?
Yeah, he's playing really well. He kind of came out of nowhere, but he stepped up his game with Cooper Kupp on the sideline. Now he's a legitimate threat. I really like this kid.
So, Greg Olson, what are you doing for Christmas?
Yeah, I'm probably just going to drink a lot of eggnog.
He was on the call of the Buffalo and Dallas game, and there was a portion of the game where I think back in 2020 he had a chance to go to Buffalo and he didn't, and because the connection, what's the connection be like? Was it Bean? Was it Billy Bean?
Well, in 2020 at the time, that was well, no, let me get my bearings together.
I'm talking about the Bills GM. Is it Billy Bean who they plucked from us? Because the Bills took everything from us.
Yeah, well, they took a lot, including the aforementioned Joe Brady.
Yeah,
Billy Bean, the Moneyball guy.
Not Billy Bean, but
that confused me. I'm trying to figure out.
He signed a minor league third baseman that year, I think.
That isn't Billy Bean. His name escapes me, but
Brandon Bean.
Brandon Bean.
Yeah.
Pork and beans, beanie weenies. Yeah,
he did all kinds of. He was at our AGM back in 2016. And did all things Carolina from 1998 to 2016. But Brandon Bean, that connection probably there. Joe Brady got with the Bills 2022, I believe, last year.
He followed. I think he jumped in there after Dayball moved on to the Giants and Dorsey moved in. I think Brady was kind of elevated into that role. Yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't write a paper based on what I said.
Coming up next on the SportsBros Podcast, we're going to talk about some of the biggest stories in 2023 right here on the SportsBros Podcast. Back at you here on the SportsBros Podcast. And of course, I don't know if we told you, but this is going to be the last show of 2023. With that being said, we want to do a little quick recap of the biggest sports stories of the year. All three of us have chose a story. And with that being said, Scotty D, biggest sports story to you in the year of 2023.
Well, it kind of was a anticlimactic ending because it had been done before, but this early in this calendar year marked the end of Tom Edward Patrick Brady's career. He retired for the second time, and this one stuck. It was a sad night for him as he went down in flames against the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs last year. But nonetheless, it was a chapter closed on the one of the greatest careers in all of sports history. Tom Brady finally moved on. Be Live, what you got?
Y'all know me and how passionate I am when it comes to the sport of college football. And Tom Brady didn't retire. He transitioned to being a talking head and a hater. Because
literally
he talking trash right now. Oh, by the way, Tom Brady on DeMontis KZ for the Steelers, suspended for the rest of the year. Tom Brady was like, yeah, the QB needs to throw the ball better. Like, well, oh my. So Tom Brady been talking cash since he's been retired. But yeah, so y'all know how passionate I am when it comes to college football. Well, 2023 is marked to me, honestly, the fall of college football as we know. I've defended it to its core. I have fought for college football. I have praised college football. College football is where the kids, they're passionate more. They believe in it more. It isn't about money. It isn't about fame. It's about the colors that you wear on your jersey. It's about the marching band and 100,000 people screaming loud, chanting the school's name. College football ain't that no more. It literally is all about money. We watched it. We've watched it through and through. We watched conference realignment. We watched the Big Ten now has 18 teams. The SEC now has 16 teams. The Big 12 has 18 teams. The ACC has 17 teams. Because you know why? There's the Big Ten is all the way out in California. TV contracts. I counted it today. The transfer portal. There's 31 quarterbacks in the transfer portal. Because you know what? Why most of them are transferring? Because they want a piece of the pie. They want money. They want some of this NIL deal. And the biggest debacle of them all, because of money, an undefeated Power 5 champion in Florida State doesn't get in because their quarterback gets hurt and people think they're not going to be as competitive in the playoffs. What happened to earning to get in the playoffs, winning the games on the field? If the NFL did that same process, half the teams would make it to the playoffs right now because they're all on backup quarterbacks. Miss me with that. On top of that, it was simple. It actually was very simple for the committee to do. They have all these criteria. Head-to-head, strength of schedule, common opponents, blah, blah, blah. Those should only be used if the teams have the same record. Those should be tiebreakers. So you take the 13-0 teams, Michigan, Washington, Florida State, and you rank them accordingly. Strength of schedule, Michigan, Washington, Florida State. Then you take the 12-1 teams, your Texas, your Alabama, and your Georgia. Conference championships matter. So Texas, Alabama over Georgia. Head-to-head, Texas over Alabama. There's your 4. Why did they make that difficult? It was very simple. The death of college football because of the power of money. That was what happened in 2023. I wanted to leave 2023 on a good note, but I can't shake it. I cannot shake that. Somebody please make that make some sense. Eddie Cool.
Be Live, I understand. I mean, I feel the same way. I'm just like, this is you just robbed the chance of team. You just robbed the team a chance to play for the national championship, and Florida State deserved to go there. Let's just hope that this attitude doesn't bleed into the world of women's college hoops. It has been popular more than it's ever been. And I'm looking at a fact for you right here. The Nielsen ratings, and it goes as quote as this. It says LSU's 102 to 85 victory over Iowa's and Sunday's national championship game was the most viewed NCAA women's basketball game on record with 9.9 million viewers on ABC and ESPN2, according to fast national numbers by Nielsen, and that comes courtesy of sportsvideo.org. You got to think about it. Monday Night Raw struggles to get 1 million views per week. This one-time thing with the women's college basketball in LSU in Iowa, Caitlin Clark versus what's that girl name?
Angel Reese.
Angel Reese, and it's just a whole lot going on leading up to the ring, the trash talking, Iowa beating South Carolina, the Caitlin Clark show all through the regular season, but she can't win the big one. It's great TV. At 9.9 million viewers, I was hooked. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a real fun watch, and I'm looking forward to getting back to watching some more women's college basketball this season. That was big for them. That was a much needed shot in the arm, because it was like, oh, okay, my beloved Gamecocks and Don Staley, forever to thee. I love y'all so much.
The reason why Eddie Cool is so big into women's college basketball is because that's all the game chickens have left. They have nothing else left. Clemson has beaten them in everything this year outside of women's college basketball.
We have a national title.
So does Clemson has the national title in men's soccer, by the way.
Oh, congratulations about that, by the way.
I
don't know if I mentioned how happy I was for you to be live that the Clemson soccer team won the championship. Oh, that was a heartwarming story.
There it is. Scotty D just gave, and B-Lab just gave Scotty D a softball. There it is right there. I'm like, yep.
Man, was that exciting.
I'm like, keep going. As soon as you said soccer, my eyes got big. Look at Scott. I'm like, take it away. All right, so an exciting year in 2023 in the world of sports. But looking at my phone, because I have yet to get a watch, guess what time it is?
I don't have one of those watches either, but yeah, I think I know what time it is.
Oh, and I'm glad you asked. It's time once again for our favorite portion of the show, the choices of the voices. With that being said, hey, yo, button, hit it. Choices of the voices coming at you right here on the SportsBros Podcast.
And now, our favorite part of the show, the choices of the voices.
Once again, thank you to the wonderful and
ever so lovely
Miss Button for introducing our favorite portion of the show, the choices of the voices. We ask y'all a question, you give us an answer, and we talk about it. And some of y'all can't damn comprehend instructions, because I told y'all not to write no damn essay. But you know what? We wouldn't have it any other way. With that being said, Scotty D, what's on tap for this week's choices of the voices?
All right, we were on topic for NFL officiating, and the question was, do you feel like the NFL officiating has deteriorated, or do you think the technology has maybe just changed the perception of it, blown it out of proportion because of all the different camera angles and close-ups that we now have, as well as social media, which gives everyone a platform to talk about it and make it a bigger deal? And Eddie Cole, after that big, long question, what did the people say?
All right, let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? Our very own Trey Dizzle, he said Dez caught it.
I was like, that was last week's question, but and it relates to officiating. And again, is that more of a technology thing that we can replay it over and over and over and over again? And
yeah, and they still got it wrong.
Every Cowboy fan is going to say that.
I think they got it wrong too. To be honest with you,
he took three steps and then reached. If that's not possession of a ball, I don't know. But anyway,
yeah, we had a questionable call in the Jacksonville and Baltimore game. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Scott Heineman said 100% they have ruined games. Makes the conspiracy that the games are scripted easier to believe, or They are betting on games and need point shaped somehow. Every single game, they are horrendous with QB roughing, such as different takes on what is the non-DPI when it matters. They are so inconsistent. Just call the game both ways, the same for the whole game. Will not be surprised to find out that we have an NFL gambler referee like the NBA did. You might be on to something, brother. You just might be on to something.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I do think that the quarterback roughing one, that's one that's has really drawn the ire of the fans more than anything.
Yeah, you really you.
What I think, and I'll opine it a little bit later, but I think it's, and to his point, is there's so many judgment calls,
Mhm.
and I mean you have so many human factors in judgment calls that it's tough. So those judgment calls, like you'll see when they call roughing the passer, and then you'll see the replay 17 times after that, like barely touched him.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but you got to think. First reaction, you see the quarterback's head go back. I don't know, but yeah, like I said, I'll opine on a little bit later with my own answer. But he had some points. I'm not mad at it.
All right, so Mark Oles and Trina Dunn got into it. Mark Oles says it was a catch to Trina Dunn. Trina Dunn said not going there. Mark Oles says, haha, so you agree. Then Robert Fulton, not the Tennessee stud, says, I agree to Mark Oles. And Trina Dunn says, Mark Oles, I think you know where I stand on that subject. Bleh.
That's the whole that's the Des debate between Cowboys and Packers. Yeah.
I put two and two together.
I had to include that just because the banter.
It was great.
I
love it. John Wasick said, no doubt, it looks like at times they have personal interest in the game. Terribly inconsistent. The roughing, the headshots are the worst.
Again,
Okay.
judgment calls.
Yeah, because you go back and look at the targeting helmet to helmet, it was like, but he led with his shoulder. Jeffrey Lewis just said, I would like to see the refs officiating the game through the use of AI. I don't. We still need refs to do due to the human condition of the game. It would be nice to use our tech to achieve excellence in our favorite games, although these games and game perceptions can be perceived differently. And he also states that every year the viewers' perspectives are changed from the singing of our national anthem. I'm not going to go all into all that. But, between the yellow line, the digital first down markers, pretty much he's thinking that AI is just, they might need some help by including AI into the officiating of the games.
Yeah, people are going to have mixed reviews when it comes to AI and stuff like that. At the end of the day, because the technology is there, can we utilize it to the better and have less human error? I think human error is part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things, like you keep hearing this phrase over and over again, don't let the refs take the game from you.
Mm.
And so I guess it's part of it. I don't know. I don't want to see robots. I don't want to, but I mean, some of the technology is of good use. The automatic replays on turnovers and change of possession, stuff like that. I like that. I think the game, the time of the game is exactly where it needs to be. I don't have any issue with that, but yeah. Again, like I said, I'm gonna opine a little bit in just a second. But Scotty, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, using technology is fine, but we can't get too carried away with it.
Right.
I think we all agree on that. Use AI to assist, not dictate. All right. Uncle Max, man, get well soon, man. We are praying for you, and if you need anything, holla at your boys. All right. Our Hall of Fame Uncle Max says they were trying to create shorter games this year, and the refs created longer games. It is just taking them too long to make obvious decisions. Uncle Max has a point.
Yes. You can even tell at times there's some decisions that they're afraid to make. So even like like those automatic reviews, change of possessions, they'll err to the side of let the booth handle it as opposed to us making a call on the field because which smart, but that does make the game a little bit longer, and then it also makes it look like that the refs are making the wrong decisions, but they're making the wrong decisions just so they can make sure that they get it right.
Well, and sometimes they take a little bit of time to make the right decision. Then once they make the decision, then they have to go and piece together what yard line is the exact spot and how much time is on the clock. So that does extend the review process a little bit.
Yep. All right. And Josh Baker, he says the Packers and Chiefs, it was pass interference. He said, but a few plays earlier was incredibly egregious. Was an incredibly egregious personal foul. I feel like the refs have always self-corrected by either throwing the flag on the other team or ignoring the obvious foul. Yes, we know Kadarius Toney was offside, but he did check in kind of trash. So he just think that the refs are just. He says that pretty much to summarize what he says. He thinks the referees are missing stuff. Then he thinks they don't call stuff on purpose. And I also think that if I'm struggling to breathe to keep up with an NFL wide receiver running full speed while I'm wearing slacks, I might miss a slight tug on the jersey in real time. As opposed to where we get to see it from like 30 different angles, they get to see it from one angle. So he just pretty much just want to take the tech away and let the boys play. Pretty much is what he said.
Well, and he one of his big points was the self-correction. We do see that where they make a call and then they're like, ugh, ooh, so we're gonna have to make that call on the other team just to even it out or let something slide. And you see that at times. And I tend to agree with that. I somewhat sort of get it right. And I mean, for the most part, I mean, I think, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with self-correction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have a problem either when they get together and talk it over and say, well, there was no flag on that play. They'll pick it up if they're doing the right thing by giving one official may have a better angle than the call that was made. I'm okay with that too.
Yep. Tiffany, thuggish, ruggish, Bone Steel says the commentators have been trashing the refs all season.
Well, of course, and to her point, it's like it's something to talk to. It's a contentious point that gets clicks and likes, and that's what commentators are going to do all day long, all day strong, and which, yeah, it makes it tough for people to actually who wants to be a referee. Not me. In this day and age, I wouldn't want it at all.
If a referee, man, you're catching on all levels, high school, college, pros, it don't matter. I heard a story about a referee and a basketball coach getting into it at a summer league game. Bro, it's summer league, cut it out. What the hell? Yeah. So shout out to everybody for their participation in this week's choices of the voices. Scotty D, what do you think?
Well, I think that the officials have an incredibly hard job because they're making these calls based on speed, and then we will often watch them on replay and go, oh, come on. You know, we have the benefit of an overview, not down at ground level, which I know they're closer. So some things they will see better, but others we can see better from our elevated view on TV. I think the biggest issue is that these guys every single year are given more and more to call. Yep. It's the rules are changing, and they are told that if a quarterback gets hit in his waist or lower, then you have to throw flag. So now there's just so many things to watch, so many things that they have to make judgments on, that it's almost unfair to them for just keep piling rules and rules and rules. I mean, if you got 4 rules like you did in 1920, it's a lot easier to officiate a game.
Yeah.
You don't have to enforce 4 rules. But now there's so many rules and nuances of the game that they're added year in and year out. And it's going to happen again next year with the what's the drop down tackle? What's
hip drop.
It called? The hip drop. That's coming next. And then and there's a possibility that the tush push could get outlawed, and then you're going to have to make a call on that, whether, you know, was he shoved from behind? Was he? I mean, there's just going to always be more and more things that these guys have to watch for, and they have to do it quickly. And when you're looking for so many different things, I think it can affect their judgment, because it if they're not calling these things that the league office is saying we want called, then they're held responsible. So they're being evaluated maybe sometimes on a different scale than we are. Now then we evaluate them. Now I do think that some of the in the spirit of the rule for protecting the quarterback, I think it is sometimes taken too far. There are times, or it just hits in general. In the Cowboys game this past week, Cowboys and Bills, there was a play that Josh Allen threw high to his receiver, and he went up and stretched back for the ball and got hit very hard from behind, knocked to the turf, very, very violent hit, and they threw a flag. And if you watch what happened, the guy is arching back into a defender who's running full speed to make a play and does not lead with the helmet. But the hit was so violent, the reaction is, I'm going to reach for a flag and call that unnecessary roughness. So things like that, they are told, well, we have to protect our players. But sometimes I think the spirit of that rule gets lost by having to make a split-second judgment call. But overall, I don't think they're terrible. I just think there's just too much put on them.
Oh. And I'll say, Scotty D, you hit the nail on the head when it comes to what the referees are asked to. I was definitely gonna say that. The judgment calls that they have to make with all of the player safety rules that are in place is crazy. Then on top of that, just the game flow itself, you watch all this player safety, and you gotta count, there's a 11-11. Is that a good substitution?
Yeah.
There's no way in the world. I'm gonna tell you this. This is my solution. Nobody's gonna listen to me because it's dumb to everybody else but myself. But I think it sounds good in my head, so I'm gonna say it. NFL, put 2 more refs on the field. Every game, put 2 more refs, one on each side of the ball. So the burden of all of these calls is you have an extra couple set of eyes looking, and then on top of that, I think is highly successful in college, where an automatic booth review. If us as the people, the fans are watching it and say that's a horrible call on the field, why is there nobody looking at it in real time with those camera angles? Like, wait a minute, yeah, that push a button, that's a penalty, or that's not a penalty. And as opposed to having the coach have to see, I think it takes way more time. The coach has to get a call from his offensive coordinator, from the specialist that's looking at this, like, hey, wait, we may actually want to challenge that. And then you got the replay on the Jumbotron. Dude, NFL has enough money. God bless, they have enough money to staff all these positions. Have somebody, the whole staff of press the button. Hey, that wasn't right. That wasn't egregious. That wasn't roughing the passer. Wow, I think stuff like that, it takes 5 seconds to, and I would say have those extra eyes. We don't need robots. You have enough money, NFL. You have I think there's only one NFL owner that's not a billionaire. You have enough money to staff.
It's there. Like you said, it's there fixed. I'm going to side with both of you. Like the Scotty D's points. Every year you turn around, there's something new you got to watch for, because it's the classic case of as soon as you get used to a certain set of rules, there's 6 more you got to watch out for. Neutral zone infraction, passing outside the tackle box, 5-yard coverage bump rule. You can't jump over the person to block the field goal. It's too much, and the human mind can only have but so much, which means whatever you have in there now is in there, and whatever's irrelevant leaks out. At least that's how it works for me. So it's just the classic case of, like B-Live said, I'm with B-Live, put some more people on the field, and I'm like, Scotty D, the refs got too much going on. With that being said, what's on tap for next week's Choices of the Voices?
Well, we are not going to be here next week or the week after because of the holidays.
Yeah. La, 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 la.
So I'll just give you something to watch for until we meet again, and just watch some bowl games, folks, and tell us which one you thought was the best, which bowl game you liked the most. We'll talk about that when we come back. in 2024.
Yep. And with that being said, it's been it for the Choices of the Voices. Coming up next, a round of pepper right here on Sports Bros Podcast.
Okay, boys, let's bring it home with a round of pepper.
All right, you heard a woman. It's time for us to go home and get what I call the hell up out of here. But before we go, a round of pepper. You know how we do it. 3 topics, rapid fire style, kind of sort of not really here to engage, educate, enlighten, and entertain. The 4 E's, and I've forgotten 2 out of the last 3 weeks, but I'll shut up and I'll go first. This day in history, back in 1966, the NBA awards the Seattle Supersonics a franchise for the 1967-1968 season. NBA, bring the Supersonics back to Seattle. Over to you, Scotty D.
All right, so a good offseason for the Pirates continues as they traded to the Yankees some international money to pick up outfielder Billy McKinney, who since 2008 has played in about 300 games and hit 209. Ticket sales are surging here in Pittsburgh. The fan base cannot wait to get to PNC Park to watch Billy McKinney play ball. Be live. Over to you.
Perfect segue. PNC Park, PNC Championship. We're going to go into a little bit of golf. Everybody and their grandmother knows about Tiger and Charlie Woods. That's all you saw in the highlights, even though they placed 5th. What you didn't realize was about Bernard Longer and his sons, Jason and Stefan, because Bernard Longer has now won his 5th PNC Championship. 3 with Jason, 2 with his older son, Stefan. So that's 5 championships for Bernard Longer and his 2 sons. You should feature more than just Tiger and Charlie Woods. Eddie Cool, the ball.
All right, so as you know, in Cleveland, they beat the Bears. Kevin Stefanski, he blacked out. David Njoku damn near doodled in his pants. Well, one guy in particular, DeAnthony Bell, was doing some great film study. He said he's been noticing when teams go for a Hail Mary pass, bat the ball down. But he also noticed that wide receivers are getting in position to catch the ball if said ball comes that way. So shout out to DeAnthony Bell for paying attention in film study class, because the more you know, the better you are. Over to you, Scotty D.
The UFC had their final pay-per-view of the year this past Saturday night, with Colby Covington challenging Leon Edwards for the welterweight title. And in the weigh-ins in the press conference leading up, Colby Covington made reference to Leon Edwards' murdered father and said he was going to have him join him in the 7th ring of hell. Oh, now, I understand the trash talk and all that stuff to sell pay-per-views, but this is obviously crossing a line. He showed up wearing Trump stuff, and he makes Trumpers look stupid with these actions, especially because he went out and to my satisfaction, laid an egg and got his butt beat all over the ring by Leon Edwards on Saturday night. I had enough of you, Colby Covington. Goodbye. Be live. Over to you.
Oh, man, that's terrible to hear. My second pepper point, we had a dogfight. We had a battle between... It was an overtime battle between the Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans. Reason why this is a pepper point is because the Tennessee Titans decided to do a little throwback by wearing the old Houston Oilers jerseys.
Love it.
During this game. But J.J. Watt, who is an advocate for the Houston Texans, like, we get the uniforms back. That's how this works. I don't make the rules. Sorry, not sorry. Too bad. So sad, because the Texans beat the Titans. And he's like, yeah, we get those jerseys now. You're no longer the Houston Oilers. Eddie Cool, the ball.
Just like losing the World Heavyweight Championship, give me the belt. Third and final pepper point. On this day in history, back in 1985, sportscaster Howard Cosell retires from sports television after 20 years with ABC. Howard Cosell, he's one of the best to ever do it. Scotty D, over to you.
Speaking of the best, I just wanted to say Merry Christmas to you, my friends, and to everyone who's listening out here. I enjoy doing this with you guys. It makes my day go better whenever we're texting each other on the latest sporting events that are going on in the world. I just want to say I appreciate you guys and thank you, and happy holidays to you guys and to everyone who has been supporting us through the years. Be live. Take us home.
I would like to piggyback on that, and I want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year to each and every one of y'all, except for Taylor Swift fans, because you know what? I'm not here for it. The fact that they removed Al Michaels from the NBC playoff coverage because he just does not want to cover Taylor Swift. He wants to cover football. He said you can't make a sideshow the show. He said, I'm not covering, I'm not talking about it. I'm not going to do it. Al Michaels, stand on your word, bro. Taylor Swifties, stop it. Cut it out. All y'all that pandering, come on, God. We gotta do better.
She wears high heels. I wear a t-shirt.
No.
I tell you what, NFL, please take Al Michaels off Exile Island on Amazon Prime. All right, put him back on regular TV. We need to see Al Michaels again. This is a joke.
Who y'all pandering to? It's about money. They want to pander. They want to gravitate to a whole new fan base. Yes, it's working, but come on, you got to stand on something. Stand on something.
You belong to me.
For the people that just want to see football, please.
And then closing for the final time in 2023, do something nice for yourself. And if you can, do something nice for someone else. They'll greatly appreciate it now more than ever. Be nice during the holidays because you never know what somebody may be going through.
Like, I don't even hate Taylor Swift, but this kind of stuff makes me hate her. I don't like her.
This has been another episode of the Sports Bros Podcast.
Like Travis Kelce because he shaved his beard.
B-Live, take us home.
Happy New
Year. Yes, sir.
Be safe, love y'all, and see y'all next year on the Sports Bros Podcast. Year number 5. Up soon. Hey, it's Eddie Cool here from the Sports Bros Podcast. Thank you for listening, and as always, continue to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Just click the link in the description box and keep up with the Sports Bros Podcast. And once again, thanks for listening.